Hello everybody, and welcome back to OMB Reviews. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you're doing well, and today I'll be doing a review of the movie Throne of Blood, yet another in the Akira Kurosawa series that I have been watching and reviewing. Just got to finish this one the other day. This is a film from 1957, which is an adaptation of William Shakespeare's Macbeth. And so it's interesting to see the different ways that Kurosawa is able to take Macbeth, which is set during medieval Scottish times, and instead input his own feudal Japan style into the story instead. But before going any further into my review, please be sure to smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey, and hit that subscribe if you have not done so already. It really does mean a lot. And I'm wearing headphones today because I have been trying different things with my audio, trying different setups for my live streams as well. Going to be playing around with one of these software programs tonight for the Welcome to Asgard podcast live show at 7 p.m. Eastern time. So hopefully everything goes through without a hitch, because I'm playing around with it because I want to try that for the Chosen of Valhalla stream, which we have tomorrow. So make sure you have that bell notification on YouTube. That way you get notified every time that we have a new video and every time that we go live. All right, so getting into Throne of Blood, let me give my initial thoughts on it. I personally have always liked the play Macbeth. I've always found it to be one of the more interesting plays written by Shakespeare. I'm not a big Shakespeare fan in general. I tend to like adaptations of Shakespeare more so than Shakespeare itself. If I have to sit down and actually read the play, because it's written in older English for a very different time period, sometimes I can struggle through that, and it really makes it hard to really appreciate it. But I do like actually seeing performances of the play, so not just adaptations as far as changes to the story or taking the story and putting it into a different context, but even just seeing, the actual play being put on, then the different productions that can be put on from it. Because what's interesting is that even though the words have to remain the same in whenever one does a Shakespearean play, it is interesting how the different directions that can be taken and the different stresses and the different portrayals of characters. I remember when I was in college, I saw a really awesome an awesome portrayal of this play that I really enjoyed from my fellow students at the college I went to. But then I also got to see this with I actually also got to see this on Broadway, of all places. There was a revival of Macbeth on Broadway, and Patrick Stewart was in the titular role of Macbeth. And it was a lot of fun to see him in that role, to see just to see the scenes play out in the different ways that they were. One of the scenes that still sticks with me is at the end of one of the acts. It's when the ghost of the person that he has killed comes back, and there is this really loud music they played in that production. And the ghost literally just jumps up on the table and starts walking towards Patrick Stewart's character of Macbeth. And then all of a sudden the lights cut out and it's the end of the act. And it's always been just this powerful image in my mind. And so I've always enjoyed it then from that, just to give a little background on that. So when I saw this and when I finished it, I loved almost every second of it, to be perfectly honest. Obviously, as many people have seen, if you've been watching my reviews about Kurosawa, I've liked every single one of his movies. The lowest grade that I've given to any of his films has been an A-, and even then it was still hard for me to find stuff to really take issue with. But this is a excellent adaptation of the film Macbeth. And so in this case, it's not taking the actual language of the show, of the play, but instead is taking and telling a different story, right? Throne of Blood, telling a different story, but obviously of being heavily influenced by the play Macbeth, following the same ideas and the same tropes and everything like that. Again, as it says, that it transposes the plot of Shakespeare's Macbeth from medieval Scotland to feudal Japan, with stylistic elements drawn from no drama. Again, a type of Japanese drama there. And here you have Toshiro Mifune coming back to another Kurosawa film, playing the role, and really the role modeled off of the character of Macbeth. And man, oh man, it really is a wonderful experience throughout the entire thing, because you obviously feel the different elements when you're watching. You're like, okay, this is clearly the idea and the plot, right? All the basic plot elements of Macbeth are here, but there's some changes, right? There's some different things that happen, or there's different ways in which the events that are portrayed in the play happen in the movie that are a little bit different. especially it's being the spirit of the Force that talks to Mifune's character and the other general and telling them of their future and telling them of the things to come. And it's one person speaking this very weird ethereal voice where you think at first it's a man, but then it's like this weird anamorphic voice where you're not quite sure, and they reference the spirit as a she. And so it's really creepy, and they do a really good job at it. But then also you have these great performances throughout the entire thing as well. Toshiro Mifune, of course, continues to be great here in what essentially is the character of Macbeth. And then Isuzu Yamada, who plays the character who is essentially Lady Macbeth, also does a great job of playing crazy, but playing crazy in a very quiet and subtle way. I mean, all of her lines are delivered just looking straight ahead, straightforward, with almost no emotion whatsoever. And so that's why at the very end, when she's finally breaking, right, and she's like, basically like you see in the play, out spot. Instead, she's like, I can't get the blood off of my hands. You start to realize just how incensed and how crazed this person is, and the actress does an incredible job of actually being able to portray it. It's interesting because, as they say right here, many people consider this film to be the best of the film adaptations of the actual play itself and of the play of Macbeth. And so I think that I could probably agree with that, even though I've seen different versions of the actual play and obviously other stories that have been inspired. This to me feels so not only inspired, but also so unique at the same time, because there's so many elements that are distinctly Japanese. There are various elements that are distinctly a part of Kurosawa's framework and the way that he views film. But at the same time, you do still have these same ideas and these same plot points that are coming through in these different ways. And so it was almost like you were expecting certain things to happen. And then when they did, you thought to yourself, okay, I was expecting this because of the plot, and I know what happens in the play of Macbeth, but it happened in a way that I wasn't quite expecting, or, I really appreciate the adaptation of this specific part and how it was able to really make it its own. It almost felt like this movie was made and that the story was written specifically for this time in history. And so it does not really feel at all like anything that's out of place, right? It doesn't feel like you've taken a specifically Scottish play and put it into a Japanese feudal era time. Instead, it feels like this movie exists on its own, and you almost forget for a second that it is inspired and obviously is the plot of a play, in this case, again, written by Shakespeare. Some other really awesome things about it, of course, the writing, the adaptation is pretty awesome. It is interesting how Macbeth is not credited in the official end of the film. I think that's interesting. I wonder if there's any, I don't know who holds the rights to those plays, or if it's open domain or anything like that. But it would be interesting to see exactly how all that stuff worked out. But the adaptation, I think, was done brilliantly. So the writing absolutely was spot on there. Obviously, direction was fantastic. The cast, right, was obviously great. Takashi Shimura, who I had just mentioned as being in Akiru the other day, which was also another film I really liked. I actually didn't even recognize him in this movie, and so to see though that obviously he's got a great cast here again. Asakazu Nakai did the cinematography. Cinematography was fantastic. Edited by Akira Kurosawa. Once again, this dude seriously is one of the most talented filmmakers to ever exist in history, and it's pretty amazing to see all this stuff happen. I do like how it does tell you what the characters in this story, who they were similar to in the actual story of Macbeth and their correlations. But then you also do have some extra characters, right, who are not credited, who are brand new characters, as it were. And as it says right here, the spirit of Spider's Web, again, one person taking the place of the three witches in the traditional story, done very well. There's also a couple of moments that I'm reminded of where you have these hauntings take place, and the way in which it's done and the way in which it's portrayed is pretty awesome and is pretty fantastic. Also, I was talking with my Chosen of Valhalla last month, and what's interesting here is that the films at the end, when Macbeth dies and gets killed, is that the way that they portray it is that he's being shot with arrows. And this is something that Tina, my Valkyrie, Empress of the Universe, shout out to her, in our last Chosen stream had mentioned that they actually shot arrows. They shot real arrows at the actor, or that he had requested it or something like that. and that obviously the ones that hit him were not actually shot, but still the fact that someone was willing to go through that is actually kind of incredible. And that it says here, during filming, Mifune waved his arms, which was how the actor indicated his intended bodily direction. This was for his own safety in order to prevent the archers accidentally hitting him. Again, this is amazing to see. Again, it performed with real arrows shot by knowledgeable and skilled archers. And I will say, obviously it sounds crazy. Everyone makes fun of people like James Cameron for almost killing his actors. I think this could be another case to be made, right? With the dude literally having arrows shot at him. But it makes it that much more authentic. Because when you're watching him freaking out as these arrows are just coming, I mean, it's amazing how many arrows are actually shot at him. And like the fact that they are actually shot for real, you kind of see the fear that might have been in the actor, in Mifune's face when this is going on. I mean, I can't imagine being shot at with arrows, let alone being an actor in a film where I've got several archers, right, shooting 4 or 5 arrows or such at a time in my direction and missing me seemingly by inches. Again, it's just so incredible what the human body can do as far as, the accuracy that we can have with these things, but also that it really just adds that extra element to it because, in the play Macbeth, obviously you have his death at the very end. This to me though is done in such a better way because of the fact you're able to have this visualization of something that was very appropriate for feudal era Japan, but also to be done in such a way where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy right here is going to be killed. I mean, it's just amazing. And then he's able to, as he's going through it, right, to swipe the arrows down. So the fact that he's actually like these arrows that have just been freshly shot into the wood of the fortress behind him, he's able to swipe out of the way to run. It's just incredible. And so with that especially, and with everything else I've mentioned, with the great acting, cinematography, again, all of the elements there are really great. This probably might be my favorite performance from Toshiro Mifune because to me, this character has the most range out of all the characters that he's played. All the other characters have been pretty, not necessarily stoic, but have been very even-keeled, even-toned, right? Not a whole lot of different levels as far as performance is concerned. They've still been good, but they haven't had as many. This one, though, I mean, the different levels, it starts off, of course, being friends with the person that he eventually kills, right, out of trying to fulfill this prophecy of having and keeping power. But then also the fact that you have him freaking out when his wife is going through all these different things, when his wife is believing in the prophecy and pushing him, when he's pushing him to actually commit these various crimes, to see like the reaction in his face when he realizes, oh, you actually want me to do this, is just phenomenal. I mean, you can kind of see it in the poster right up here on the screen, the eyes that Mifune has here. And there's several moments in this movie where his performance truly is just spectacular. And so overall, love this movie. I think it's great. I would rather watch this 1,000 times than ever have to read the play Macbeth again. I'm just going to be honest about that. If I had to give this film a grade, I would give this film a solid A. I really honestly thoroughly enjoyed it. Obviously, it also has a lot of thanks to be given to William Shakespeare for having written the play originally so that they could then adapt it as such. But to be honest, I like this a heck of a lot better than I do the original. And that's obviously for a couple of reasons. One, because even though it's in Japanese and you have the English subtitles, it's a much easier story for me at least to follow. And then secondly, I do like the era being set in feudal Japan. For me, think it's just a little bit more interesting, and I like the different spins that Kurosawa takes on this specific film. But anyway, what are your thoughts about Throne of Blood? Have you ever seen it? Let me know in the comment section below. It is available right now on HBO Max, and obviously there's lots of other locations that you could actually get it on video on demand, VOD services, and of course buying it on Blu-ray as well. And I think down here, because they don't have all of Kurosawa's films on the Criterion Collection, but right here it does mention the United States. The film was distributed by Brandon Films in 1961. The Criterion released their Blu-ray in 2014. So if you want to get a high quality Blu-ray edition of this film, you can get that one from Criterion, and I I'm probably going to go pick this one up myself. Anyway, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, light up that fire button if you're watching over on Odyssey. You're all amazing people. I plan to continue this series because on Amazon Video, the movie Ron, which I assume is pronounced, spelled Ran, but I'm assuming it's pronounced Ron. I just started the first couple of minutes of that one, and that one's actually was shot in the 1980s, so one of the latest of the Kurosawa movies. And so I've heard a lot of people in the comment section as I've been going through these reviews, leaving their thoughts about other films that I should check out from him. This one is one that's available pretty easily to me, and so I plan on going through that, and I plan on doing a review as well. But as far as schedule goes, tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, we will have the Welcome to Asgard podcast like we always do. And again, I'm going to be trying out a couple of different places. I'm using something called Melon right now. It's called Melon app. It's related to and associated with Streamlabs, which is kind of why I'm leaning in that direction. If you've ever heard of StreamYard or things like that, it's similar, where it's a browser-based way of streaming, but having the ability to have guests on as well. So I'm playing around with that because it worked very well with Tina's Chromebook, which unfortunately has had issues in the past with the chosen streams. And Hangouts has kind of been what we've been doing. But instead of just having them up in the corner and it not looking very good, I kind of wanted to see if we could make things just look a little bit better. And also in the future, for me to have a stream where if I wanted to invite someone on, or if someone randomly was available or something like that, that it would at least be possible. So I've been playing around with a lot of that stuff today. And anyway, that's it for me today. You guys have a wonderful and amazing rest of your Saturday. And as always, God bless. And now for a huge shout out to all of my June Patreon and Subscribestar members: Andrew Hoyle, Biffer the Hobbit, Brian P., Dion, Don Bruno de la Mancha, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, hail to you, Father, Father Damian Cook, Garrett Searles, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toone, Jonathan Carney, Laura the Modern Major General's Story, Mike Jackson, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Priscilla Hall, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, and rather Teresa Martin is Miss Martin Muses now, Tina Bojan, Tina B., and Washington Madranda. Thank y'all very much for being my supporters on Patreon. And to my Subscribestar peeps: Fast Reaction, Nosferatu Gatsu, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., Dean Heiss / The New Number 2, J. Rod the Beer Guru, Nevanon G. Adams, and ZK Man. Thank you all very much for being my Subscribestar members. And if you want your name shouted out at the end of every video and live stream, please consider joining on Patreon or Subscribestar. You also get access at other tiers to things like a bi-monthly podcast, bi-weekly, twice a month podcast that I do with John the Flick Pick Flickinger, which is a lot of fun. There's also a tier in which you can join me once a month for the Chosen of Valhalla live stream, where you all get to, at that level, join me for discussions, talk about any projects that you might be working on, or just hang out and have a good time. It's a lot of fun. And also, too, for many of those levels, you also get access to a giveaway section on the Discord server, where you get access to giveaways of things like 4K movies, digital codes, and tons of other stuff like that. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, check out the links in the description and sign up over on Patreon and Subscribestar. You guys are all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.